guys, welcome back to the Self-Made Training Facility Trainer and VIP interview series. Today I sit here with one of our corporate contracts, one of our first corporate contracts that was not with a team or a first responder program, with Jeff McClain from Patriot Pipeline.
Hey Sean, thanks for having me.
So let's start with your early life. Okay, so your upbringing, because we're gonna go pretty long with this one today, if that's okay. I know we're on a time frame, but I wanted to talk about your early life and your upbringing, and some key points maybe about your family and what got you to where you are today.
All right, hope we got some film.
Plugged in. No power outages today.
So I grew up in a town called Sylmar, San Fernando Valley.
Okay.
Pretty rough upbringing. I think both my parents were drug addicts, alcoholics. I was pretty much the only kid that looked like me in the school I went to.
Gotcha.
So got to learn some hard lessons most of my life. But I will say, when I look back on it, it's exactly the life I needed, exactly the childhood I needed, exactly the upbringing I needed, because growing up in that type of environment, you learn a lot of lessons. You learn grit. You learn how to deal with adversity. You learn how to do hard shit. You learn how to... You have a lack mentality, I think, when you come from that environment, and I think that you either continue that or you make a choice to change that, and making that choice to change that, which I did in my fairly early on, in my early 20s, was just a launching pad, really, because you always have that to look back and reflect on.
Right, you can make an excuse to say this is what happened to me, or you say it's like what happened for you, right? And the excuse
Absolutely.
to either is the excuse to stay and decay or to grow from it. So you made the choice to grow. So in your early 20s, what did you decide to grow?
Again, just that lack mentality, or what I call a fishbowl mentality. You think if you grow up in this fishbowl, you think this is my lot in life. This is what I'm going to be.
Do you remember any one particular turning point? Maybe was it a low, or was there something that you realized at that time? You're like, now it's time to grow.
It might have been when I felt those handcuffs on me for the first time.
Should be it. That might be it.
That'll do it.
Yeah, I won't ask about all the other times, but you said the first time. Yeah.
No, that was probably a turning point for me, and not that I was really
Started that.
I wasn't on like this totally wrong path, but I was a product of my environment, and I ended up getting got arrested. I sold weed to an undercover cop, and I was in high school.
Uh-huh.
And senior year, right before I graduated, and
Well, nowadays you just pay taxes on it.
right?
You're good to go.
I'm telling you, right? But back then
doesn't even count.
Back then, it's like you're in a pretty bad way. So that decision changed the trajectory of my life, ultimately for the positive, obviously. But like it closed a lot of doors for me. Like at that time, I didn't really have a lot going on as far as where I wanted to go, except I was really considering going to law enforcement, and lights out. Right. I actually tried. I went through I passed some tests, written, physical, all that stuff.
It always came back
for the sheriff's department. And once I got to the background, they're like, nah, it's there. I was a minor, but it was still on my record, at least.
Was that something that maybe like over time would have went away, or was it something that, you never found out?
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I was 21, 22, I think, when I first tried for the sheriff's department, and again, made it through all the initial stuff, but didn't make through that background part of it. So it was like, the only skill I'd really had learned up to that point was sales.
Yeah.
That wasn't supposed to be a joke, but that's pretty funny.
Supply and demand.
Supply and demand.
Right.
Economics, right?
Right.
And construction.
Okay.
I grew up, my family, again, drug addicts, alcoholics, but they were contractors, the construction workers. That's how we paid the bills, So
Work hard, play hard.
Right.
Gotcha.
So I definitely learned how to get up early and work hard, and those are skills I definitely learned growing up.
And so from taking that time where those failures, you're trying to grow, you're trying to better yourself, you want to do something positive in the community and join the sheriffs, and it's like shut down. But you had this history in construction, and looking at your bio, this all in your early 20s, you jumped straight in. It seemed like you hit that down of no, it can't be a sheriff, but you made a quick turn.
Right. It's speed is probably the most important thing you can do when it comes to business. And I know that now. I didn't know it then, but I knew I needed to make a change and make it quick. So, when I decided to get into the business I'm in now, the underground utility business, pipeline business, got an opportunity to work for a company, brand new. I think I was 21, 22 years old, and I literally was a labor, bottom guy on the crew, just went out there and went through all the stuff, and this was back in the late 90s, so it was a different environment.
It's a great time.
It was great, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's when I was born.
Cut. No, I'm just kidding. But back then, I think even like employment, just the way that the culture in business was different. So it was almost like being in the military when you joined a construction crew and you were young. You didn't, you were just some punk. I mean, they just hazed the crap out of you. Let the air out of your tires, dig trenches around your car while you're, so you can't leave, just crazy stuff.
Try today, now you get labor board, like unions and everything up here.
For sure. So
sound like one of my buddies, Steve, he's a member here, and he trains with Jarvis, who's on our other podcast, The Coach's Corner, and he was telling his story and Rise, his big general, like nationwide contracting company. He's built buildings in Puerto Rico and stuff, and so he told me his story. He started sweeping floors. Mm-hmm. And, he went through the same pattern as talks about the hazing and everything. He built tough, for right? Sure. And so you started with a company, and obviously you own your own franchisable business now. Mm-hmm. So what happened in between? So now you're in your early 20s, you're working for your company, you're getting hazed by all the guys that are above you, mm-hmm. and now you're growing, right, in this field. And then what happened next?
Well, I think I indirectly saw the upside of the business. I saw what the owners appeared to have. Okay. Nicer vehicles than I'd ever touched in my life.
Right.
Nice homes, beautiful wives. I mean, all the things that come with that lifestyle, if you will. And that was completely out of reach to me in my mind at that point. But I also saw the guys that I was supposed to aspire to be like, which was the foreman, the senior guys on the crews, and they were drunks. They were low lifes. They had 5 different child support garnishments. And I'm just like, and I remember thinking to myself, like, hold on, like that's what I'm supposed to aspire to be. Like, work hard, and someday you can have their life. And I just decided to skip that.
Yeah.
And
I don't like that middle growth.
Yeah, I just
stop.
That's the truth. I just said, no, I'm not going to do that. I mean, yes, I quickly learned, and back then there wasn't really an internet to speak of. There wasn't, YouTube to learn stuff, so I literally went and ordered a book, a construction book and some sales books and stuff. And
there was no construction by dummies yet.
No, that book wasn't out there. I was a dummy and it was construction, but nobody had written that yet. But so I literally would work all day and then come home at night and read these books and study and learn how to read plans. And, I have no education to speak of other than, high school. I did graduate barely, but I just taught myself the higher end stuff that I didn't know that would take years to learn to be a foreman or to be a supervisor. And I learned that in months and just kind of pushed and pushed. And I ended up having to jump a few companies just to get those opportunities. Once I did, I was pretty quickly became one of the better crews, or managing the better crews at companies. So I realized again, I can run something like this, and I knew how to do the thing we do. But again, I just kept
that dream started becoming instead of being the middle management, drunk alcoholic with the 5 child support payments, that started becoming your potential reality, right? Seeing the ownership side of things.
Right. And like I said earlier, yes, to what you're saying, to answer your question, but the point of it is everybody does that. I bet if you talk to all my employees, they all look at my life and say, oh, must be nice. He's got this, he's got that, whatever. But I went, instead of saying someday I'm gonna get that, I said today. Right. I'm gonna get that. And immediately applied for the contractor's license, took exams, did everything I needed to do to get my contractor's license, and felt like a blink of an eye. I went from a knucklehead laborer to I have a contract now. I'm a contractor. I bid a job. I got a job. Now what the hell am I going to do? Right. And that's from then on. It was, I say it all the time. I had $5,000 in the dream, and that's the truth. I got a tax return for $5,000 back then, and it was bought enough tools to start my little business. That was enough to get me started. I bid a number of jobs, and there you go.
How well do you know Miguel's history and his story of how he started?
Mildly well. I don't know it as well. I would like to chat about it though.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and it's funny. So basically, everything's the same except Riverside. And one of his famous phrases that he liked to repeat, and it's on some of our shirts and apparel that we have, is "Procrastination is death," which is basically what you just said, right? You talked about speed in business being like a key factor, and not about, oh, I'll do that one day. It's about starting it today. And except for Miguel always said diet starts tomorrow. I think that was the only thing that he would procrastinate on. And another big thing is what he named the gym. And being self-made. And he learned that from the depths of despair and having to, kicked out of the house, living on couches. His wrestling coach actually took him in high school. And Miguel went and had a place to let out all that frustration and anger and everything that happened with his poor upbringing. And his wrestling coach saw something in him. And even after that, Miguel still had like his failures and his setbacks and stuff, but always would come back. And he had a very similar upbringing. I didn't know all that about you. All you had is what it's a lot more. That's not all on your About Me page on your website. So
I do have a book coming out in October.
Oh, dude, heck yeah! I'll be glad to be one of the first people to get a signed copy of that one.
You got it.
And but being self-made and having our gym called Self-Made and how you've made yourself, there's a lot of parallels to that. And we miss Miguel dearly. We have his videos playing there all the time, and I'm grateful that you would like to see some of the parallels of his story and how it parallels with yours. One thing that Miguel had in his life was an outlet of fitness. Is that something that you had? He had wrestling, which is what his big thing was. When you were young and growing up, did you have an outlet through fitness at all?
Not till my probably mid-20s. I mean, my outlet, truthfully, was working.
Right.
I had multiple jobs. I worked when no one else did. That was my thing,
Right. And that same strategy, though, while you were younger, created that habit of being a hard worker and disciplined to go to work and still work when you got home, right? So doing that, like you said, you needed that rough and tough upbringing that maybe no child should have to go through, but when you look back and you got to go through it to develop the character that you have today. Another thing that was a parallel that I almost forgot was you said you had $5,000 in a dream, and I don't know what the number was that Miguel fixed up this old, I think it was a Suburban or something, and he fixed up this old car, ended up selling it, using that couple $1,000 to buy some gym equipment and put it in his garage. And that's where Self-Made began, in a garage with a couple pieces of equipment, like 7-year-old rusty pieces that were bought off the back of Miguel's blood, sweat, and tears to fix up a car. And started in a gym. After that, after a couple years, he opened up the location off Date Street, and that was about 3,000 square feet. And that's when I came in and started working with Miguel. And I was in there about a year and a half after he opened that location. I remember we had this red bench, and we all signed it. And I want to figure out where that bench is now because I kind of want to bring it in here and put it in an acrylic box. And we have all the OG original trainers' signatures on it. Some trainers that are no longer with us because they're at other gyms, and some because they've passed away. And so I have a big heart, and that's something that I would love to see if we could get that back somehow. But after that, Miguel and expanded, and we went to the Winchester location, and that was about 18,000 square feet. So big jump from the 3,500 square feet facility that we were at. And then he started a franchise model, and that's when there was highs and lows for Miguel at that point too. COVID hitting probably wasn't very fun. I remember seeing his face go ghost white. It's ironic actually, we're talking about it. It was around St. Patrick's Day of that year that Newsom shut down California. And I remember that night I messaged all my clients and I said, no one's stopping me from going to the gym and no one's stopping me from going to work. And your sessions will still be here. Take whatever time you need for your families, discuss. And you're not getting your money back though. But your sessions will be here and I will be here for you in whatever capacity that I can be. I remember I went to the gym that morning, no one else was there except Miguel. And Miguel came in and we goes to pale white. And I remember having one conversation with him, and I said, let's just put a sign on the front door. It says, we're closed, contact your trainer. And there was a church behind our building. And I said, I have everyone drive and park in the church parking lot because Riverside County's not going to shut down a church. And so, and so we had everyone parked there, and we walked down the back of the hill, and we had like a secret knock, and Miguel called it Fight Club.
The first rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club.
But I remember that, and no one talks about Fight Club. Yeah, and I remember going through that and maneuvering that crazy situation with Miguel. And I told him, I said, hey, by the way, I'm not giving you your key back because I need this, because I have a mortgage, I have a family, and I need this. And I saw Miguel was like, it kind of woke him up to that like, there's people that depend on him, in the community, in his gym. His family depends on the gym. And there was a lot of subcontractors that depend on the gym, and their clients depend on the gym for their mental health. Mm-hmm. And during that whole experience, it was wild to see how strong of a community that we had here. And how big of a community that was all built off of the back of some guy that fixed up a Suburban so that he could buy a Smith machine. Yep. And that rippling effect that it had and still has today, and how many people's lives that you've impacted as well, I'm sure, with how many jobs that you've created off of the back of some kid that was product of a alcohol abuse family and everything. And it's just beautiful to see the bloom of characters like that started from the bottom, and probably no one told you that you would be where you are today with hearing the start of your upbringing, right?
Definitely not. It's funny. At our Christmas party this year, which we had hundreds and hundreds of people at Pachanga, big, and had a big party. And in my speech, the first thing I said is, I want to thank all my teachers that told me if I didn't do what they said, I would end up digging ditches for the rest of my life. Because here I am,
You're
right?
digging ditches. You might not have a shovel, but
right. So it's exactly right. This is I certainly didn't expect to build what I've built for a while. When I made that turn in my life, not when I was really young, because it's hard to have a vision when you're in the mud, if you will.
Right. Literally.
But once I got out of that and started getting some traction in my life, I never really had a problem envisioning something like what I've got so far, and I'm not done. But I think it's just once you can clear your eyes and actually look forward. If you're a visionary like I am, like Miguel obviously was, I really think you're unstoppable, especially if you had a bad upbringing. Mm-hmm. It's almost like a prerequisite.
Right. It's like, what else are you gonna throw at me? I've been through everything else, right?
Is that all you got?
Yeah, right. And another one.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly.
So for people that don't know, and like your intro is very humble, and so I talk about where you are, who you are, things like that. We still haven't gone to like the nationwide spread that your company has and the franchises that you have, because I even had contacted my buddy in Texas who was a self-made franchise out there, and now he has his own brand called Manifest Institute. I'll actually be seeing Mark next Monday and Tuesday. We're going to go down to San Diego. He's flying out from Texas, and we're going to go check out an equipment seminar for gym equipment that's going on down there. But you have some franchises in Dallas. And I said, hey, whenever my guy Jeff flies out there, you better let him work out for free.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so let's tell, like, how big is your brand right now? As far as like expansion, how many states are you in, or franchises do you have?
I believe this week we'll be selling our 15th franchise. We're in 6 states, I believe. Mm-hmm. And we're on track brand wide to do about 100 million top line this year. In sales, and we're only 3 years into the franchise model, so it took
pretty rapid.
Yeah,
speed.
So thank you. Right. The hardest part with that idea came to me. We're the only ones in the world that have franchised a construction company like this. Literally, we're the only ones in business. We call that a blue ocean. Right. There's no competition in what we're doing, and there's no one can do what we can do. But it took about 2 years from the time I said, that's what I want to do, to get through all the regulations. There's a lot of federal regulations, state regulations to be a franchise. You know,
Is it
as
also
you may know,
because
with
you're dealing with utilities? Because they is that a difference with the franchising model?
No, it's just all you have to get approved, you know, through the federal government to sell a franchise, and it has to be a franchisable model. So they have to go through all of your books, your systems, your processes, everything.
What do you think is different about why has no one else done it? Is it just too many headaches, and people that are in construction are happy with the general contracting in their area or their community? Like what made you want to make it a franchisable model versus what everyone else was doing?
There's a few questions there, right?
Right. Sorry,
That's okay. I'm going to
you.
answer them all. The reason no one else has done it is I just beat them to it. I mean, they're coming, you know, as people start to see what we're able to do with it. You know, I will tell you, like, everybody I talk to, especially in our industry, when I was like, this is what I'm going to do, every single one of them said it's not going to work because it's so unique. Like, who franchises a construction company like that? It just can't be done. It can't be done. Okay, thank you. Like, that's
Watch me do it.
That's the truth. I mean, I mean that humbly to what you said earlier, but it's the truth. Everybody I talk to, I think most people are so focused on themselves and their business and their geographic restrictions. You know, because the way I explain this to people is like the scalability of this. You know, if you're selling coffee in your neighborhood, and you can sell a ton of coffee in your neighborhood, and you're the best coffee guy in town, you can only do so much coffee. Right.
Yeah,
but when you can scale that nationally, it just blows up. It's amazing, truthfully. Like even I still haven't really processed the full scale of the trajectory that we're on. But backing up a little bit, so where that idea came from, I was at a Tony Robbins Business Mastery Conference. Okay. When COVID happened in 2020, literally I was sitting with a group from Wuhan, China. No joke. That's a true, it's a crazy story. But they grouped us up in these little groups, and the whole point of it was everybody in business, you know, you're in the gym business. Cool. There's these 5 ways in which you can grow a gym brand. So if you're in the gym business, you just think these are the ways we can do it.
Right.
You don't think of how
outside that.
So we were put in these groups with different industries, and in my industry there was a guy with an ice cream shop.
Okay.
And he's like, I'm thinking about franchising my ice cream shop. And I was like, interesting. And in that conference, Tony Robbins also said, he goes, if you want to create wealth, real wealth, generational wealth for your family, make as many people wealthy as you can. Make as many other people wealthy as you can. Between that and that guy saying, I think I'm going to franchise my thing, I went. And originally the plan, I wasn't thinking I was going to be, because right now of the 15 locations, only a couple of them were people that I had actually known prior. But in my mind, I'm going, I have all these supervisors, these people that are, you know, high level people that have basically topped out within my company. That's why I left, right? That's why I did my own thing, because you're ambitious, you want to go conquer the world.
Instead of having them leave,
why don't we help them do their own thing?
Right.
But oddly enough, one of them did. Because not everybody wants it. It must be nice when they see my home. It must be nice when they see my plane. It must be nice when they see my whatever. But when I say, hey, you guys can do it too, they're like, nobody wants to do it, right?
Well, a lot of times when they get topped out at their position, life's on cruise control. And then asking them to go back again and spend more time in the mud is probably not where they want to be. You know, depending on their age, they may have kids going through certain ages or college. I'm sure. How old were you when you had your first kid?
27.
Okay, and so all this is being built and the scale while you had a family. It's not like it was all being built when, you know, you were the single guy able to be in the mud, in the trenches, right? You had to build this while you had wife, kids, everything like that, right?
Yeah.
So how did that go balancing it? And I may know your answer with as far as what balance means, right? But and most people in those senior level positions at your work that may not have wanted to have their own brand or their own business, that are on cruise control, making good money for you, right? They start leveling out and balancing, and it's hard to get back to grinding after you're living that nice balanced life. So let's look at that like time frame when you had your kid and your family, and How was that managed? I know mentally it must have been very difficult, having to juggle the responsibilities of building your company, but also you weren't able to be home all the time either.
So I'll answer that in two ways. First of all, like to my point about how many people didn't want the opportunity, I love each and every one of them. Like it's not a shot, right? It's not like, oh, they're idiots. They don't want to. Right. They don't want my life. It's like my life's not for everybody. I get it, but so I thought that everybody wanted what I wanted. You know what I mean?
Right,
like,
right. Okay.
Why wouldn't you want all this stress and all this, all these things? And there's a few shiny things you get to drag along with you, but there's a lot of work that goes into it. But I realized very quickly that most people don't want that, and that's fantastic. Like as long as they have what they want, but at least I can offer that. But to answer your question, there was no. I don't want to say there was no balance because that's not true, but you have to hyper focus on what you want to accomplish at the time, and I was always there for my kids. I've coached almost every sport they've ever played. I've been a part of all that, but that's almost part of making those sacrifices. I can work all weekend. I can work all night. I can, do all this other time
24/7
on my own time so that when I need to sneak away for an hour to go coach football practice, I can. I don't have to say, hey boss, can I leave to go do this? Right. So, and obviously when my kids were born and we're going to football practice, but I was still able to be there for them. But I was also able to not use them for an excuse, because a lot of people I think do that. Well, I need to be there. My kids need to see me, and I happen to be of the school, if you will, that it was good for my sons and my daughter to see me not at home.
You taught them.
I'm out hunting.
Right. Yeah.
I'm out killing and bringing home the meat, as they say. Right. That's my job, and now my sons know what that looks like, and they know what the expectation is for them. My daughter knows what that looks like and what the expectation is for her future husband.
Right.
Good luck, by the way, pal, whoever you are.
Yeah. Right. You'll be at work a lot. But I think too, it's just it's a very traditional aspect that you brought into your company, into your business, into your brand. I remember watching a video that you posted on Super Bowl Sunday, and I was like, damn, I like that. And you can go and find it on his page.
You can.
And it was an interesting take that a lot of people don't want to say, and a lot of business owners, and I think we're lucky, blessed in Riverside with like Sheriff Bianco, and the way that we experienced COVID was different than a lot of the outside world or outside of our area experienced it. We were lucky enough or blessed enough to have some very conservative leadership that allowed us to continue to work. And a lot of people didn't just sit on their hands at that time. And for my personal business, as far as training went, exponentially increased because of COVID. And the lessons learned during that time have helped me with operations here too. And there's a lot of like spoon feeding that was done during that time frame that I think people got used to, and now they just want handouts. And Miguel wasn't one to accept or give handouts. He would give education and mentorship, but he always said, I can lead you to the water, man, but you can't make you drink. And I like to repeat a lot of things that Miguel said for our trainers here and the staff that we have here, because I didn't always need the things that Miguel would preach, because I worked hard, and I was pretty well behaved in school, 4.0 athlete, all that stuff. But it was the part where now it's like, the leader was gone, and the troops need someone to rally behind. And Julie was stuck with operations on all the legal side of things. It was like trying to find a way, and no one will ever replace the leader that Miguel was. And but trying to keep the training staff together, because when they all dispersed, when we had no gym for 6 months, it was to bring them back. And now we're at 40 out of 60 trainers back, and we're not even here in 9 months now. And 40 of them have come back. Some have actually wanted to come back, and we said, no, thank you. You were causing problems before. Right. But we can now be more selective about who we have here. And one of the things that we've grown and developed since we've been here is our VIP membership program, which your son actually fell into and got us connected. And the story that I was telling quickly before we started the podcast was how his son and his buddy walked into the gym, and they wanted to get like a day pass or do a tour, and they wanted to know about membership here, and they noticed that there wasn't a bunch of like croc wearing curly haired kids waiting at the bench press, and it was, you know, and the vibe and the energy was something that they wanted to become a part of. And I was with a couple of clients. It was later in the day, and I was busy, and this is me judging a book by its cover. I look over, I see two like in shape kids looking like they're 18 to 20 something years old, and they're like, oh, they're interested in the VIP program, and I'm like, oh, okay, whatever, I'll go talk to them. I talked to them, the kids looked me straight in the eye, and they're well spoken, and they nodded, smiled, yes sir, and like, oh, these are cool kids that were respectful and respectable, and they worked out, and they had a good time. And I said, yeah, and I gave them our code to get a membership, and then they asked that night, you know, well, what about do you do like a family discount or something? I think is what it was, and I was thinking, oh. They said that they went to Linfield, or he had gone to Linfield. And I have a lot of the people that I train have gone to Linfield, and so I know the caliber of people and clients that I have that have come from there versus somewhere else. So that got me to be like, okay, this kid's pretty serious. You know, he does want a membership here. And then you go, oh, what about like, do you guys do a group membership? And I said, is it for a team? Because we've done that before. Right. And then, or is it for like a company? And we've tossed the idea around. We have first responder programs. And then he said, I was thinking maybe like a family membership. Like it'd be like, you know, your dad and your, you know, brother, sister, mom come in. And I was thinking, you know, we've tossed around the idea of that. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, well, 15 people or up to 20 people. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And so we'll have your dad come in, and he came down and we talked, walked around, and you were serious from the get-go. And you guys signed up within like 48 hours. Right. And you guys came in, you clean up after yourselves, you treat the facility like a home facility, and you've been like a dream to have. I remember the first day, I think it was Monique and another lady came in the morning, like 5 a.m., like day one with like 18 contracts signed. I was like, holy crap, these guys are serious, and they've followed every policy to the crossing the T's, dotting the I's, like everything we've asked. And the behavior here and the assimilation to the culture has been magnificent. And when a contract needed to be changed or whatever, you guys swap it out, swap keys. It's been very, very simple, which I'm highly thankful for. But what I wanted you to comment on was within the first 2 weeks, I ran into you working out. I think it was the first time I ran and saw you working out. And I said, well, how's everything been going? And you made a comment about even the culture at your workplace now and in your office had changed. If you could like expand on that a little bit.
So yeah, it's easy to preach when you work out. Myself, you know, as the leader, whether it be my office or even like my franchises, you know, obviously I meet with them all the time, and I annoy them to the point where if something's, you know, well, this is going wrong in my business, and this, did you work out today? You know, and it's like, of course, that's not going to fix the thing, but
it sets you up.
You did something hard today. The universe and God are going to reward you. That's what I believe. Am I right? Am I wrong? Doesn't really matter. That's what I believe. You're following me. This is my company. Yeah. You know, be a part of it. So, you know, running my company and constantly doing that and constantly preaching that to them. And then they would all scatter. And a lot of the guys and gals in my office, because that's just my office that we're talking about, would have gym memberships, or they would do yoga, or they'd do their own thing, which was fine. But it really just became evident to me that it was like, no, I need to put my money where my mouth is as well. Like, you know what? I'll tell you what, I will pay for you to go to a gym right up the street. And I wouldn't have done that at the gym I was at before, because you're always hanging out with the croc wearing kids on their phones sitting on the gym. You can't even get in there half the time, right? So when I saw this place and my son and his friend had told me about it, came and looked at it, I'm like, okay, I could sign off on you brought up the word culture. That's all we talk about at my office. Like, our culture is efficient. It's clean. Our slogan is safer, cleaner, faster, guaranteed, right? That's our slogan. So it's like, you come here and it's like, it's safe, it's clean, you can come in and work out fast. Like, it jives, right? So it was like, you know what, why don't I just put this out to all of my staff? I'm not going to force anybody, but does anyone wants this, we can have some fun with this. We can do competitions and
Yeah,
things like that.
Tell me. So we want to get involved somehow. So we'll talk about that after, because I want to be a part of one of those competitions for you guys. We keep going. Yeah.
But it was much to my, I don't want to say surprise, but I was, because I definitely wasn't surprised, but I was happy that pretty much everybody was like, I'm in. And it was like, all right, the company will pay for it, but you're committing to at least twice a week, absolute minimum, if not more, but at least twice a week, because there's some people that aren't workout people,
right.
Ease into it. And it was like, everybody was lit up and ready to go. And like you said, it was like within hours, it was like, where's our keys? How do we get in? What are we doing? I'm like, okay, hold on.
I remember I'm like, another key. And then like for a couple of days there, it's like two more contracts, bring them in. And I was like, this is sweet. And I mean, I'm here like, from 5 a.m. till who knows when sometimes. And to see they come in, smiles on their faces at 5 a.m, they may a little yawn here and there, but they're here. And then even anyone who comes after work, they're still here and smiles on their faces. Yeah. I haven't seen someone come in here and toss their bag on the ground, ticked off with the world because they had a crappy day at work. No. So not only is, like you said, fitness sets them up on the day if they get started, but they also know when they're coming in here, they just came from a work environment that seems to be, from my point of view, never be stepping one foot in your office is very positive and encouraging atmosphere they're coming from. So we also appreciate that when they're in here, because I've worked at other gyms. I have gym memberships at every freaking gym in the Valley. And sometimes, you're going in there and it's just a bunch of people ticked off after work. And now, of course, they need a gym to let that out, but it's just a different environment here. I'm glad that our is a very cohesive relationship.
For sure.
Was it something, as I know you have the building that you have your office at, you mentioned has like a small facility there. Mm-hmm. So is this something that you were looking for, or did your son just hear? Because I never actually got his side of the story on like what made him come in here in the first place. Did you just see it online, or I should have asked him that, so have him come in.
I mean, we've been working out, him and I, for years at, up the street. Mm-hmm. And, it just was, we were at the point where we were looking at other gyms, and we went and toured a few other ones before we came in here. So he's definitely like, a dog on a scent, if you will. Mm-hmm. When I'm like, hey, let's look at a new gym, it's like, he's like, here's 4 gyms I found. Let's do this. Let's just check this one out. And I wasn't available that afternoon when him and Colin came in. Yeah. And, they were sending me videos. They're like, I think we found the gym. I think we found the gym. I'm like, okay. So, again, it was at that time, I think the initial thought was it was really for us, like just for me and a couple, the guys that were already working out consistently with us anyways. But once I got in and saw the place and because again, I wouldn't, I have a lot of female staff. I have a lot of,
sure they're comfortable, feel
correct.
safe.
I have a lot of new to fitness staff, and I just didn't want to send them to some weird place and that I would be signing off on, like you said, because my culture of my office needs to align. I need to sign off going, I'm cool that those guys are going there at 5 o'clock in the morning by themselves. They're going to be fine, right? Or they're coming in the afternoon. They're going to be able to do their workouts and be fine. Right. So it just worked right off the bat. And obviously working with you guys and being able to, put together a package that made sense for both of us. It's been great.
One of my coaches had and this wasn't from Miguel. It's from my coach, my first bodybuilding coach, Pete Ciccone, and he's in San Diego. I still stay in contact with him. I call him my forever mentor because he was my first coach, and then we actually bounce ideas off each other now. And I feel very blessed that he actually asked for my input. But one of the things that he said was always vision, faith, and discipline, where his the 3 things and the core parts of the culture that he tried to bring into his business: vision, faith, and discipline. And we've talked about vision and how, like, when you're in the mud, sometimes it's hard to have that vision. Talked about discipline, about, you have to be okay with grinding, then taking time off, being disciplined to know when to take time off to be there for your family, and then be straight back into the grind. And you're making a lot of sacrifice. But one thing that we haven't mentioned too much yet, and I kind of alluded to it a little bit in your Super Bowl Sunday workout, was faith. Mm-hmm. And so I know faith is a very important pillar for you, yourself, your family, and your business. So how is faith, and touch on faith as far as that goes? The way I look at it is
everybody has faith. It's just what they have faith in, right? And for me, in my entire life, when I look back, it's like, there's no way I did this. There's no way I was able to accomplish this with the tools and the skills that I had. So, and by this, I don't mean this. I mean any of it. I mean my family, my children, my friends, my business, myself. It's like, how did any of this happen? And I think it's hard to not acknowledge that none of us can do that on our own. And again, to overcome things and just have maybe I'm rambling, but
that's all right.
There's so much to unwrap there. You know, it's like, I talk about this almost every day in particular with my franchisees and people that are starting businesses and different levels of business and things they're trying to accomplish. And it almost always comes down to that, to faith. It's like, well, this is hard and this is this. Yeah, but have faith. It's going to work out. And I genuinely have that faith. I know my story's already been written. I know how this ends, you know, and being able to go through life like that. And I obviously don't actually know, but I have faith that whatever's going to happen is what's supposed to happen.
Right. What does it say in Hebrews? Faith is being sure of what you hope for and certain of what you do not see.
Right.
So while someone else may not have the vision, right, they may not see it, you have the discipline and the faith to create that path that's already been laid out for you. And so it's just a different way and perspective. I say, like, when we have pains here and problems here, it's like we're blessed to have these problems that we once prayed to have, right? Because we were too small. And now as we grow and as we expand, there's friction.
Yes.
And I say problems should be a product of growth. And if you look at them that way, then is it really a problem anymore?
Definitely not.
Definitely not. Yeah. And just an opportunity in our development.
And as back to my bringing up some of the franchises, a lot of them are now at that turning point in their businesses where they're stressed out, and almost all of them are faithful, you know, God-fearing people that just aligns with us in our culture through the company in general. But like a lot of them are starting to get in a place where they're landing large contracts and having to expand, having to buy equipment and trucks and hire people and do all these things. One of them literally just told me the other day, he's like, I can't believe I'm complaining about this because this is literally what I was praying for.
Yeah.
You know, and he laughed when he said it, you know, and I'm like, you're absolutely right. And he's like, but it's still, it's a problem in a different sense of the word, right? A problem is not necessarily something bad. A problem is an opportunity, something that needs to be solved, right? So business is solving problems. So it's like, you don't have clients. Okay, I need to solve that problem. Right. Now I have too many clients. Okay, now I need to solve that problem, right? So it's, but it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. I think the word problem is it's a
negative connotation attached to it, right?
Right.
And I think that would, like you said, when you view your entire life as like solving problems, they're always going to be there, right? And so you've solved a lot of problems, and you've given thanks and praise to God. But let's thank someone who's probably been by your side and helped you on the family side of things. Talk about the importance of a happy and home life and how that's really been beneficial to you.
So I think you mentioned earlier that I appear to be very traditional, conservative, in my values, and you're 100% solid on that. Like my wife doesn't work. She stays home. Since we've been together, she's taking care of our house, taking care of our family, been there for me, which allows me to do the things that I do.
Support.
Right. And so many people in this day and age are probably cringing as they're watching this. Oh, he's one of them. Yes, I am. And my wife is blessed because of it, and I'm blessed because of it.
It works for you guys.
Right.
Yeah.
And she wouldn't want it any other way. I wouldn't want it the other way, because to be a hyper successful person, you got to have somebody to help you recharge. I know people that the husband and the wife are both in that situation, and they're both out grinding and chasing and blah, blah, blah. And then they come home and it's like, there's no one there to say, I got you.
Right.
And it's like, that's just without that support and without that just not having to worry about my kids were at school. My kids were picked up from
the
school.
Anxiety of all that is gone. Right. It allows you to focus.
I was allowed to focus on that, and she doesn't know how much our mortgage is. It's not her job, right? And that's what so many people are missing these days.
Right. Everyone's trying to have all these responsibilities and roles, and it's all commingled in this like Venn diagram. It's like when you clear cut it, just how you run your business, everyone has their roles and responsibility, and it's clear and it's efficient, right? And it can be fast, right? You have speed in making decisions. We're running low on battery power, looks like. So if we can go quick one on your goals for 2026. So quick, I know you're in franchising, probably blowing those up. Anything personal with your goals? Something not business related, maybe?
I mean, we all
Besides
have our fitness.
benching 405.
Okay, 405. Definitely got my fitness goals, which hopefully you can help me with.
Yeah.
But like I mentioned, I am publishing a book in October. It's supposed to be published October 13th. Not ready to say the title just yet because we have a couple tossed up, but that's coming out in October. Just business is banging. I'm happy. I'm blessed in that sense, and plan on doubling our franchise size probably in the next 18 months. With the more social media presence, I've been stepping that up and really getting our name out there more for that purpose. So
that's awesome.
Excited about that. Yeah.
And we're going to put a self-made in every city so that you guys have a VIP program to go to. Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I'm sure there's a lot of value that you've provided, and we're continuing this relationship. It's going to help both businesses grow. And we're just happy to have you here as part of the Self-Made family, because a lot of your values, I'm sure Miguel would be very, very blessed and happy to have you and your guys here.
I appreciate that. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
All right.